Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with Bima Peter Sibidi. Now, first story, the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists at Komfonochi Teaching Hospital has declared a total strike over management's failure to withdraw 2 physicians posted to the directorate. The decision was made at an emergency meeting at CATH. Members say they cannot be blamed for the death of any patient at the hospital. Oyemintera has been monitoring developments and has more in the following report.
The medical laboratory scientists have been on a sit-down strike in the past 1 week, pending management's decision to withdraw the 2 medical officers. Members say management of CAT should be blamed for any consequence of the industrial action. President of the CAT branch of the association, Ernest Bedu-Boatin, spoke to JoyNews after the meeting.
It's a week old since we declared a sit-down strike. There may be a lot of anguish on part of our patients. There may be a lot of anguish on part of us. The pressure on us was enormous. Management have still not yielded to our resolve and our position to withdraw the 2 doctors. So today we are going to affirm the NEC decision that the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists NEC have taken, that this strike be escalated to a total full-blown strike where we won't even give a timeline. Until management resolve our issues, we are not going to come to work.
Patients at the Komfonochi Teaching Hospital have been at the receiving end of the sit-down strike. They complain about high cost of lab services provided by private laboratory facilities outside CAT.
I came to the lab for lab tests of my daughter, who will be going to see the doctor on Monday. But I came and then I was told they are on strike, so I have to go to a private lab to go and then make the lab. I wasn't even aware of the pricing, so I decided to go there. And because of the urgent need of my daughter to see the medical practitioner on Monday, I have to pay whatever amount that they asked to be paid.
How much?
80 Ghana cedis. But here at Komfonochi it's 50 Ghana cedis.
But Ernest Bedu-Boatin says management of CAT cannot be absolved of blame. According to him, failure of management to resolve the impasse aggravated the situation.
We are very much concerned about the cost implications of this strike and the cost patients are paying to outside laboratories. That is why it was regrettable that management had to arrange with private labs to run samples from Komfonochi instead of looking at this matter and withdrawing the doctor from the hematology lab, making it look like we are dispensable, which even went a long way to infuriate my members. And that is not good. So we are calling on management that patients are bearing the brunt of this strike. Nobody is happy with what is happening. If they will allow just 2 people, just 2 hematologists, just 2 physicians to cause all this trouble and cause a nationwide strike, then if anything should happen to anybody, if any patient should die, if any patient's illness should be aggravated, or whatever it is, they should lay the blame at the doorstep of the manager of Komfonochi, the chief executive officer, the medical director, the head of LSD, and then the 2 ladies who have been intransigent and still thinking that they have the right to practice the laboratory.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyemintera reporting.
Away from that, small-scale miners in the Ashanti region have threatened to sue government over the burning of their excavators at mining sites. The miners say they will seek legal interpretation on the rights of the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources to issue a directive for the destruction of equipment by a private business without just cause. Muhammad Nuruddin reports.
Line of action. We are in preparation to institute an action for an interpretation of the Constitution at the highest court of the land to find out if a minister has the right to issue a directive for a private person's equipment to be destroyed without just cause. If the law allows that, we are in line to do that.
Former Ashanti Region Secretary of the Miners, Philip Bawa, also says the miners will petition Parliament to intervene.
And also, we will take measures to place an injunction against these activities if an action is not taken immediately to remedy the situation. So we are considering that. And also, we will be filing a petition before Parliament to intervene in the illegalities and arbitrariness that is going on in the country. Because you cannot unleash your military against your citizens for no just cause, because this is against a UN convention.
The the small-scale miners allege there is selective justice in the fight against illegal mining and destruction of natural resources.
Because if he's protecting some people in the community, while we, the legitimate, are suffering, he knows the consequences. The consequences, any selective justice, there is consequences in selective justice.
Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has thrown a challenge to those criticizing methods adopted to rid the country of illegal mining to head to court and seek redress. Speaking at a sword-cutting ceremony for work to start on a proposed law village at East Legon, President Akufo-Addo said the devastation caused by illegal mining is evil and must be stopped.
I would want your indulgence to use the opportunity of this platform, so appropriate in so many ways, to comment on a current matter of considerable importance which has engaged the attention of the nation. It has to do with the battle against galamsey. I know there are some who believe that the ongoing exercise of ridding our water bodies and forest zones of harmful equipment and machinery is unlawful, and in some cases, harsh. I strongly disagree, and I would advise those who take a contrary view to go to court to vindicate their position if they so wish. That is what the rule of law is all about, which does not recognize social status, religious persuasion, political affiliation, ethnic origins, or regional adherence. Merely the law and precedent, the ancient common law doctrine of stare decisis. The Minerals and Mining Act, 2006, Act 703, is the vehicle through which a mineral license is acquired and thus confers mineral rights on the holder. Any person who without a valid license conveys any equipment onto a piece of land purportedly to conduct activities for the search, reconnaissance, prospecting, exploration, or mining for a mineral commits grievous crimes against the state. Indeed, a person in possession of a valid license but undertakes mining in water bodies or mines unlawfully in protected forest zones also commits an illegality.
Away from that, the dawn of COVID-19 has reaffirmed the need to utilize the digital space for effective business activities. However, looking for the right software can be a headache, as a wrong tool can be a disservice. While Ghanaian Management Information Systems consultant Samuel Yamin Yabwa has developed a framework to digitally transform businesses.
The effects of particularly COVID-19 have compelled businesses to consider digital tools to allow for remote management. However, an informed selection of particular software or digital tools and processes may be a liability. As part of his PhD thesis in information systems at the University of Ghana, Mr. Enimiabwa set out to design a model that helps transform organizations and businesses. The drivers, processes, capabilities, impacts DPCI framework is designed for entrepreneurs, managers, and business practitioners to help in the digital transformation of organizations. The DPCI framework can help policymakers make and implement policies that will support pursuit of particular drivers to achieve desired policy impact.
People just go for systems without thinking about the implications. People go for systems and think that once you bring in a digital system into your business, everything goes well, without thinking about what they want to achieve, without thinking about what they need to pursue, without thinking about the specific processes that need to be optimized, or even what resources they have and what resources they will need, competencies they have have and the competencies they will need. They don't think about all those things. So this framework is a framework that is guiding you to achieve your intended and desired outcomes for your business by helping you to look at the specific drivers or the specific motivations that you need to pursue. And then if I am pursuing these motivations, what corresponding processes should be optimized, to be emphasized, to make sure I'm able to achieve those objectives. And then within those processes, what competencies do I have and need? What resources do I have and what resources do I need? And those are the capability and capacity that I spoke about, which will help you achieve that aim.
Already, 3 businesses have been utilizing this tool to transform digitally.
One is an importer of lubricants. One is a manufacturer of food products, and one is a distributor of beverages. We've tried these processes with them. We've tried this implementation approach with them, and they were very successful. The time of implementation were shortened. We had between 1 month and 3 months of implementation. Things that would have taken us 6 months, 1 year, we were able to shorten it to just about between 1 and 3 months for all 3 companies. The future is that as we move on and accept and inculcate with digital technology, we need to know how to go about it. What should drive you for specific purpose? We are not in a one-size-fits-all situation. That's why we need to evaluate each targeted transformation and see what are the needs, what should drive us, what processes should I emphasize, and what impacts will I get if I introduce this capability and introduce that capacity.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
Let's talk about the National Science and Maths Quiz, because with the stakes getting higher every year, the pressure on contestants who represent their schools in the competition is drawn from more wells than just the depth of their academic knowledge. The contestants have to manage the expectations of their own supporters and also shake off the tendency to be intimidated by their opponents who may have more supporters seated among the audience. Most supporters lose interest in the contest if their reps fail to live up to expectation. But you cannot lose interest when Fifi Amwa-Hope is in the seat as quiz master. At least that's been the effect of his sometimes humorous and suspenseful style of moderation of the 2021 Ashanti Regional Qualifiers. Manuel Kranting reports from Kumasi.
One of the unique features of the National Science and Maths Quiz is the choice of moderators for the competition. From Iramadi to Eureka Haji and now Elsie Fakofman, moderators of the quiz at the national level have always been women. But as more schools enter the quiz from different parts of the country, some men have been introduced into the role of moderator, at least at the level of regional qualifiers. One of them, Fifi Amwa-Hope.
As you said, the full name is Fifi Amwa-Hope. Read by chemistry at KNUST, and then nuclear and environmental protection at Legon. And I've been teaching for close to 21 years now. I've taught at Infansipim for all those while. Took a break for a year between October 2019 and September 2020 to be at Jukwa Senior High School, where I was posted as an assistant headmaster. So I was there for a year, and in 2020 I came back to October around. I came back to Infansipim as assistant headmaster academics.
Hopeman, as he is called by students at Infansipim School, brings an interesting feel to the competition that could barely be ignored. But it is not new. James Owusu-Apia, a 2018 NSMQ contestant of Infansipim School, tells of how, as a teacher, Mr. Hope literally infests everyone around him with his energy.
Mr. Hope is more of the student's teacher. Everyone likes Mr. Hope. The kind of energy he brings on board is something you can't take from him. Yeah. When he's around, you see that boys are active.
As a quizmaster, Mr. Hope's signature suspenseful style of moderation captures everyone's attention from the beginning of the competition to the end of the last riddle.
The audience is made up of diverse backgrounds. You have students who are science students who are listening to the answer to know whether it is correct or wrong and have an opinion themselves. You have arts, business, all kinds of backgrounds who may not really be interested in the academics of the question, but whether their school is doing well or not. You also have a certain public outside there also waiting to see what will happen to the scores. So everybody has his own expectations. So you need to manage all those expectations and get everybody interested. Otherwise, people will say, okay, let's wait. When we finish, we'll get to know the answers. We'll get to know who won and who lost. So you need to put in something that would carry the educational aspect of it and then the entertainment as well. I am a phenomenon associated with repetitive motion. Okay, Adamomasi. Simple harmonic motion. All right. Simple harmonic motion is not the answer. Can we continue? Second clue. I occur in an oscillatory system to which a four could be.
Resonance.
On the second clue, 4 points.
The last riddle, you see, he imparted some fear in us, but by God's grace, we will be able to see through.
So you're scared?
Very.
Your teachers almost ran away.
Yeah, they almost ran away. They will leave us here. We will walk to the
Even though his style infuses some fun into the otherwise rigid academic exercise, he is, in a few instances, misunderstood.
There was a contest where one particular school had picked about 7-8 speedrun questions, and the others practically were spectatoring. So at a point, I did say that this is a speedrun question, and we are all supposed to be part. That school picked it up again, and then I said that, well, if I had a way, I would have stopped this school from from picking, and the others would also do their best. Nonetheless, I don't have that power. So I mentioned the other schools. This question is to all of us. And people saw the fun in that, but a particular school amongst them felt that I was looking down on their students, trying to picture them as students who were not good and bad. So sometimes it may not go well.
But for Hope, only a focused team can handle the pressures of being on stage, carrying the reputation of their school.
The quiz master or mistress position comes with a lot of demands. You have people believing that you are being partial, you have people believing that you're not being fair to them, and you have your favorite, etc. But in every situation, you need to be guided by the principles or the rules. When you sit on stage, there's nothing you can do about something you do not know. But there's everything you can do about what you know. So you ought to forget about what you do not know and just hope that the questions will come from where you have studied. Once you have what you have studied being asked, you are in a position to deliver. If you focus too much on what you have not studied, even what you have studied will not be delivered and delivered well.
And this he has lived all through his moderation of the 2021 qualifiers of the competition in the Ashanti region. Manuel Kranting, JoyNews, Kumasi.
And that's how we end the AM News with me, Mapito Sibidi. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. The AM show continues.
This morning, I'll be looking through the Ghanaian Times Business Finder, the Daily Statesman, and the New Independent.
Let's start. Do you want to start with the Times or I go with the guide?
Well, let me go with the Times then. And Parliamentary Committee commends Kotoka Airport COVID-19 testing procedures. The story is on page 7. Mama, you recall in recent times there was that controversy over non-mask wearing at Kotoka, certain parts of the airport and all of that. And it appears this is some positive development because the Parliamentary Committee for Health visited the KIA yesterday to inspect and review COVID-19 testing processes ongoing at the airports. Dr. Nanaya Wefriye, who is chairman, ranking member, Kwabena Minta Kando, managing director of Frontiers Healthcare Services, Dr. Kujo Senaja, and the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Umabwaji, were all there. Now, speaking to the media, the chairman, Dr. Ayu Efriye, explained that the inspection of the facilities was part of the Health Committee's mandate to understand how testing processes at the airport were conducted. And in summary, they were happy. Of course, that is good news for us if everything is going according to plan there, because we're still very much in the thick of things when it comes to COVID-19. And my heart goes out to India. It's been suffering. It's been battered, and they are still. And now there's this other bit that a lot of those who get, some of those who have got COVID-19 have had to struggle with mucormycosis, which is a sort of fungal infection. I mean, Charlie, COVID has changed our world. There's also go to court if you disagree with government's approach to Galamsey fight. In the course of our talk segment today, we'll be getting into that bit. Mr. President saying that 5 policemen grabbed for extorting 38,000 Ghana cedis from drivers. That's a story we actually did yesterday. There's a story I spotted. So, yes. And another thing we're going to be looking at today, the bit about double salaries and whether it was a case of you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Well, a former Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, is simply saying overpayment of salary is not a crime. We'll be delving into those in the talk segment today. On the back page, rainstorm displaces over 350 students of Hila Liman SHS. Now, you look at the state of some of the logistics or the infrastructure of the school, and you ask yourself, a school named after our former president, look at the state in which it is. Sad, but that is the story there. And then Abosu Goldfields distributes 2,160 bags of fertilizers to 360 farmers, and it's a wrap for the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Let's jump into the Daily Guide newspaper. Here's what's on the front page. Robber policemen in trouble. Yesterday we started off the conversation, but I actually didn't think it was this huge. So 2 incidents bringing the total amount of money apparently collected from these 2 guys to 38,000. But all happened in Accra, one around Kanishi, the other one, somebody from Ashoman towards Hachu. And essentially, these policemen turned robbers, in quotes, escorted a man who was driving a DV, an unregistered vehicle, and then just decided that he was a suspect. He was a cyber fraud suspect, and they took him to a bank for him to withdraw money to them. I mean, it's so bizarre that if it turns out really that this is true, then I guess we should be afraid, really. The other incident was also a gentleman who was sitting in an Uber, whom, the Uber was stopped. Again, they said he was a suspected Sakawa fraudster, internet fraudster, and they handcuffed him, also took him to the bank so he could go and withdraw money for them. I mean, it's so strange and weird that these are identifiable policemen sitting in a branded police vehicle. In one of them was Operation Calm. So these are officers or policemen who would be patrolling at nights. And to think that this happened. The good thing, though, is that the 2 reported to the police, and that's why the Accra Regional Police Command is taking on this. And they've given a very detailed account of what happened, which is refreshing. And they name all the officers involved. So they're still investigating this matter.
I just want to chip in on this. You said policemen turned robbers. Who knows? They could have been robbers turned policemen. And I say that, and it goes back to the bit about the sort of people we are recruiting into our security services. We keep saying it, and for me, especially on the back of some of these happenings, if for any reason I had any encounter with a police officer, yes, I know the system where you're afraid to this and that, I would ask a lot of questions. Because how do you say, on the suspicion that you're a Sakawa guy, go to the, based on what? What is the crime that has been committed? What is the allegation against the person? It is nonsense.
I have heard those who continue to say, oh, you have rights and that you should ask questions. But look at the time that these incidents happened. This is around 11, you know, like really, really at night.
No, but the time doesn't really matter. I get your point that, of course, you're looking at your security and all of that.
This is one person sitting in his vehicle, a group of policemen stopping you with guns.
It is true.
And you think that if you're doing back and forth with them, it will help you?
I'm not saying get antagonistic with them, but even as you remain calm, even as you hold you maintain your composure, ask them relevant questions. I'll tell you this. I know people too, who when they were accosted by the police, they were very calm and just asked a few questions. Oh, you want me to do this? I'll do it, fine. But where is your warrant? Oh, you want me to do this? Oh, please, what is my crime? I just want to know, so that calmly, when they realize oftentimes that you know what you're about, some things change in their demeanor. You remember what happened to Umaru Sanda? You remember what happened with him? And the number of police people who were surrounding him doing what they did. He asked questions, and that is why we even got the sort of information about the activities of those police officers.
I think the circumstances are really different.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the surrounding, everything else is different.
I think by and large, we allow these police people to think that they can accost us at any time and just do anything simply because they have that badge and that they wear a navy blue uniform. It is really sad, and we must stop these things. It is a disgrace that we are talking about police officers having, 38,000 CDs copped up from what? Yeah. People on the streets. It is a big disgrace, and I think we really ought to look at the elements we are getting into national security, into the Ghana Police Service, even into the military, because the sort of things we are hearing from these outfits, I mean, sometime back you wouldn't even hear a military officer involved in it. Today it is becoming commonplace.
I get you. So police essentially is also relying on CCTV cameras of these banks where the monies were withdrawn from, from their ATM. One drove all the way to somewhere in airport, Silver Star, to withdraw the money for the police from 2 different sources. So they are tracking, but
and the ATMs and all of that, usually you would have visuals as well. The ATMs themselves, so you can at least prove that at this point I was compelled to come and make a withdrawal.
Yeah, with this whole exposure, we're heavily depending on the Ghana Police, the Accra Regional Police Command, to do a solid job. Otherwise, how would we trust when we are stopped by a police officer if they are going to be 10 robbers on us? We are the people that they're supposed to be protecting and helping. They are not supposed to be taking from us, robbing from us at gunpoint. So this is certainly one of the biggest issues in Ghana today, if you ask me. But there's also another story. I think you touched on it. Of course, it was in our news. The president speaking for the first time on what's happening in terms of Operation Halt and the fight against Galamsey. This is what he says. Go to court. To Galamsey. So I guess all the people, and I think recently is extra oil mining, that's
extra gold
mining that's had issues. The NPP's women organizer, so
Kate Jemfoa.
Go to court, Madam Kate Jemfoa. I guess that's what the message is for those who are aggrieved. Go to court if you think you have a case.
But on that very same note, as legalistic and as democratic as it sounds, go to court is not necessarily always the most democratic stance. I heard Mr. President say yesterday that for those of you who think I'm not doing the right thing, go to court. In this very country of ours, go to court has had its own different dimensions under different administrations, under Nkrumah, under Buzia. And as for the military regimes, forget about any real court matter. Under the NDC, the MPP, if you understand what I'm saying, I just don't want to say certain things, but go to court is not necessarily the best avenue all the time. I don't think so. I'll just leave it there.
The rest of the stories on the front page of the paper. Opuning dismissed, opens defense June 3. It's not as if he's been dismissed from the case. It's an application for stay of proceedings that was filed by his lawyers, as well as counsel for Seydou Agongo, who is standing trial alongside Dr. Opuning for causing over 217 million Ghana cedis financial loss to the state. That's the application that was dismissed. So he's been ordered by an Accra High Court to open his defense on June 3, 2021. The two, together with Agricult Ghana Limited, were ordered by Justice Clemens Jackson Honyanuga, a Supreme Court judge sitting as an additional High Court judge, to open their defense respectively after he found that the prosecution had made a prima facie case against them, thereby dismissing application for submission of no case. If you've been following the story, you might want to read the rest of it and understand what truly happened in court. We're told COVID-19 testing protocols on change for vaccinated travelers. NAPO gets doctorate for free SHS, and foundation donates incubators to Kokroko. That's Kwame Sefakai's foundation. In the center spread, where we have the news one pullout, replacing John Dumelo was my talent. Who says that? If you are an entertainment follower, Anthony Wood. I'm not sure I know him, but that's the gentleman there, and that's an actor. He said replacing fellow actor John Dumelo. I know John Dumelo, but this one, I don't know. What did he replace him in?
I really don't know.
Okay, let me move on to Uche. So Nollywood actress Uche Jimbo, in a recent tweet, called out people who constantly brandish their distaste for Nigerian film industry, and according to her, she could never understand why a class of people feel it is a bragging right to dislike Nollywood. So her rant is in the paper. And then the win whips amidst reports of Sandra Abebio denying him. That's Kumawood actor Leo Win, born Kwejo Cancer. So on Wednesday, he shared a soulful video of him on Instagram in tears while a song by Young Act Black Sheriff played at the background. Reason behind the tears hasn't yet been established. But it has happened at the time actress Sandra Abebio, who was rumored to be his girlfriend, has denied ever dating him. Hey, Semo, where they pick the stories and put the pieces together. And yeah, well, we've got some sports stories on the back page of the paper. Antonio Conte is reported set to leave Inter Milan. Okay.
And this is after he won the Scudetto. And I think he won another trophy. Well, but there was another story you've actually skipped.
Was that the United?
Yes, Man United. I was about to say, why aren't the papers talking about Manchester United's debacle?
Oh, it was a late game. So, but then they've reported on the things that happened ahead of the Europa final. But the game was late. I'm not sure the papers.
Some papers go to press, from what I know, pretty late. So I'm actually. But anyway, you have a point there. The Finder newspaper now, and some very distasteful news we got yesterday. 3 killed, dozens feared trapped in collapsed mine pit. And at least 3 people were killed, while dozens are feared trapped in a collapsed mining pit in Ghana's coastal central region. An official actually confirmed on Wednesday, which is yesterday. Joe Donko, Central Regional Director of the National Disaster Management Organization, told Shenhua that the incident happened in an abandoned mining pit of a large-scale mining company at Breman, a mining community in the central region. And you know, when I got to the point when I was following the news where they spoke about the fact that they had stopped looking for any more people, it just became very clear that it was a loss. It was a complete loss. Who was it that was mentioning? I think it was it Kojoga Dawudu the other day when we engaged them on Galamsey, that he nearly fell into one. You know, they were actually monitoring on one of these sites. He nearly fell into one. You know, there have been incidents where innocent people have fallen into these pits that were dug, not properly sealed, and all of that. So, as for Galamsey, I don't know. But
what is also revealing about
really
this
to be dealt with
particular one is the fact that the people in the community couldn't even identify these 3.
Yeah.
Because they said they're not from the community.
They're not part of us.
So People come from different parts, and then they come and mine, engage in illegal mining in places where they don't live. So they don't care. They don't come from the town. They don't care, and
they just come and destroy. Yeah. And that is the mindset of some people who also come from, I don't want to single out nationalities, who also come from outside of Ghana, and they just come, this is not our land.
Yeah.
So let's pollute it, let's destroy it, let's make our money and go away. And it's only a country whose laws are not working that will allow that to happen. And unfortunately, we've allowed that to happen for a long time. Beautiful laws, poor implementation. Page 8 of the paper, SDGs, developing nations face 2.5 trillion investment gap. Picture there of Yofi Grant, CEO of the GIPC. But it references, the findings of a report on Ghana and how, though there have been some gains made in some key areas, some indicators under the social goals, but not enough to achieve the SDGs by the 2030 deadline. So, for example, poverty was supposed to have been eradicated by 2030. It's futuristic, but looking at where we are currently, we are nowhere close to, achieving that goals. And the goals under this agenda, carefully crafted under 3 key pillars: development that is economic, social, and environmental, ending hunger, good health, well-being for the people. Then there's the environment. The goals are clean water and sanitation. And trust me, I went out yesterday. As for clean water and sanitation, it will take a while in Ghana. When we've gone up north, the northern belt of the country, starting from Oti, moving up, I have a friend who's working on a project for a village in Oti just to get them water. It's sad. Potable water to drink. Water. And then, of course, the social pillars, quality education, gender equality, and all of that in there. So, we have a lot of work to do. I'll wrap on this one as we celebrate one of our own. I always love it, like I said, when our ladies rise, and of course, one of our very own is doing just that. The managing director of Absa Bank Ghana, Abna Osei-Poku, has been named as one of Africa's 50 most influential female corporate leaders. And the announcement was made by Leading Ladies Africa, a women-focused non-profit organization. So kudos to Abna Osei-Poku on that feat.
Let's do the Daily Dispatch newspaper. There's a fascinating story on page 2. So essentially,
I could hear you giggling, and then tell us about it.
They've got the Galamsey, the president comments, and then a story they started from yesterday, Obeda Samoa on the Nkrumah years in Ghana. But story of interest is on page 2, and it's not even from Ghana. So this is a war veteran who started a polygamy project. He's got 16 wives, and around 2015, he put a hold on his polygamy projects because he said the economy wasn't doing well in Zimbabwe. But now he started again, so he's just about marrying his 17th wife.
17th?
Yeah, he's got 151 children. 151.
Oh, he's one of those. I've read about a couple of those who have.
Yeah, so polygamy projects, he calls it. His mission on earth is to produce.
To procreate.
Okay. So that's what he's been doing.
That's like a little village right there.
He
has a village of his own.
In the 1980s, and this is 2021.
So it's been what, like 40 years thereabouts?
Hey!
Where'd you go?
He doesn't intend to stop until death takes him away.
How old is he now?
He's 66. He's pretty young.
Then the man
he's not,
just might have
so he's got a long way to go.
of time on his hands.
He's got a long way to go. Hey. He wants to have 100 wives and 1,000 children. 100 wives, 1,000 children. That's the aim. So he's got a vision. He's got a mission. He's got an objective. What is yours?
Why, if everyone were populating the world like that, would he have? Okay, Obiara what the goals and the aspirations, so it's fine. But mine definitely doesn't come anywhere near his goals.
Oh, so that's it from the Daily Dispatch.
Okay, so let's look at the Daily Statesman now. KGL Foundation supports charity organizations. No rise from criminal ventures. President states position on equipment burning in Galamsey fight. Let's ensure success if after Belmia to AU states and as Opuni suffers a big blow in court. But I'll do this one. Smaller parties descend on NDC for boycotting IPAC. It's actually a story on page 2 by Kwesi Frimpong. And the story says political parties that do not have representation in Parliament have described the decision by the opposition NDC to boycott meetings of the Inter-Party Advisory Committee as reckless and unwise. The parties have also condemned the continuous attack on them by the opposition NDC. According to the parties, the NDC's reason for the boycott of IPAC smacks of hypocrisy. So that, in a nutshell, is what they have been saying. They are not happy with how the NDC has acted. Well, that is practically it for this paper. But in the entertainment page, there is Jennifer Aniston says Brad Pitt was one of her favorite Friends guest stars. You know, there's another version coming up with the old team reuniting. Tonto Dike advises people against going back to their exes. I would have asked you a question, but me, Bisa, for certain reasons.
Oh, you can ask me.
What do you think about?
Go back to your ex?
What do you think about?
You want to ask?
No, not even this. What do you think about remaining friends with an ex? I've heard of so many things where people say, "Oh, once you are zoned out, that is it." I disagree, though. I feel being a friend with a person. I mean, if you're just going to leave it at that, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know what you think.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, really. But the point is, what kind of conversations would I be having with you? So for me, it's not like we're enemies, but I'm not going to be picking up the phone and be calling you. And
so what would prompt you to call an ex?
I'm not sure, really.
Maybe
it's not like I'm going to keep you.
The person is a banker, and you're trying to get something through that bank. You need something, and you might pick the phone and call. Is that such a situation?
If you're my relationship manager, yeah. But apart from I don't think so. If I saw you like in the bank, I'll say hello. If you ask me, oh, maybe you want to help me, yeah, of course. But I'm not sure. Like, I won't even be thinking about you, you know? But I don't, if you want to be friends.
You've been zoned out. You're zoning out, and that's it. Cristiano Ronaldo, I've achieved the goal I set myself when I arrived at Juventus. That's it for the paper.
All right, the Business and Financial Times newspaper on the front page. Cultural leaning still affects local participation in the Ghana Stock Exchange. That's the managing director making that revelation. He says that it's actually a suggestion that he made, that the cultural leaning surrounding ownership remains the primary reason for low participation of indigenous businesses on the market. And then airport COVID-19 testing system, we're told, will be able to detect new variants. That's the expectation, so that they would alert the Ghana Health Service through the port's health units at KIA of any new variant that enters the jurisdiction. And the economy capable of bouncing back on its own, according to Professor Bokping. There are other financial stories, related financial stories in the paper that you can explore. I guess that will be it for the Business and Financial Times.
Well, my final paper, The New Independent, Prophet warns Akufo-Addo and co. Ban Akpeteshie now, else. Okay. Free SHS is not all-inclusive, claims Dr. Richard Anani, and tasks government to include private schools. It's been a while since I heard of Dr. Richard Anani.
Yeah.
It's actually been a while. Prioritize needs of underprivileged, remote foundation to government, and then scrap Eastern Corridor import duty policy. Tax experts, GRA officials demand. So those are the major stories in the paper. When you turn it open, there is on page 8, Ghana Gas ventures into production of agrochemicals, and FDA digitizes payments for imports and exports. That will be it for that paper.
We will do myjoyonline.com. Are you highlighting on any story before we do myjoyonline.com? Okay, here we go. Lighthouse Chapel begs court for more time to file defense. So I'm sure you're very familiar with the former pastors of the church who claim that their SNIT contributions were not paid for a number of, a period of time. And so they've dragged the church to court, the leaders. Okay. Well, essentially, what it is that they're asking for more time because they were to file a response within a number of days, which was 14, and they did not. They filed, I think, 1 out of about 6 or 5 cases. You can read and get the details of it. So, you know, when they went to court, the lawyer for Lighthouse pleaded with the court to give them more time so that they can adequately respond. They were slapped with some amounts, I think 1,000 each, and it was a bit dramatic, so please read it so that you can appreciate it. When you read it, it's like you're sitting in the court and you're monitoring it yourself with the 2 lawyers doing their own thing. And Edwin Appiah writes beautifully, so he's captured it really nice. Bedieto Asante denies allegation of having sold Arts Center. Details of that there. Alleged coup plotters pray for variation of bail condition or variation of bail conditions. 3 persons dead, 40 more trapped in collapse Galamsey Pet at Bremang. I distributed 161 ambulances as a health minister. Alban Blackman, the speaker, telling us something he did way back. Derek Barting, 34 others arrested for violating road traffic. Is that the footballer, Derek Barting? Okay. Avoid use of media to denigrate others for cheap publicity. Attorney General urges lawyers. And if any patient should die, blame Komfo Teaching Hospital management. Lab scientists warn as strike intensified. Now, they've given a deadline, which is like today. If issues were not addressed yesterday, then we should be getting ready for a full-blown strike by their colleagues in other regions as well. That's been the warning. So we'll see how this I guess, pans out today with the laboratory scientists who are unhappy with the situation at the Komfo Teaching Hospital.
In the meantime, it is the people who are suffering. But right before we wrap, some birthday wishes. I kindly wish my daughter Dilma Selinam Freeman Tete, who is 10 today, a happy birthday. May the good Lord continue to protect and lift up this lovely daughter of ours. That's from Superintendent and Mrs. Freeman Tete.
Yeah, I've got a lovely one also coming from Engineer Samuel Kwakwabuedu. And I'm not going to say that he made me sleep in darkness today because they took my lights. But it is his son's birthday, so I'm not going to take the shine. Kofi Kwakwa, a.k.a. Chief of Madonna School, Koforidua. Papa loves you, and may you grow in grace and wisdom. Enjoy your birthday today. Happy birthday to you, Kofi Kwakwa, a.k.a. Chief of Madonna School in Koforidua. We've got sports coming your way right after this. Stay with us.
For the first time in 98 years, Villarreal has won a European trophy. For the 9th time in 9 attempts, a La Liga club has beaten an English opponent in the European Cup final. For the 3rd time in the career of Unai Emery, he has won the Europa League. It was a 2nd in the Premier League versus 7th in La Liga in the Europa League final on Wednesday night. And guess what? 11 successful penalty kicks from Villarreal. Manchester United missed courtesy from the spot by a Spaniard, David De Gea, and the Spaniards jubilated another success over an English opponent. In the Division 1 league, it was a battle of the 1st and 2nd in Zone 3. Tamayud, who had gone 21 games unbeaten in the competition, succumbed to a 2-0 loss to Accra Lions at the Tama Stadium, ending the Hammer Boys' unbeaten run. After leading Inter Milan to end their 11 years wait to win Serie A, Antonio Conte has parted company with the club. These and many more within the next 10 to 15 minutes. I am Muftau Nabila Ablai. Welcome to AM Sports. Let's start with Division 1 football, where Accra Lions ended Tamayu's 21 games unbeaten run in Zone 3 to move to the summit of the league table. Goals from Oliver Amedo and Raouf Salifu were enough to hand Lions an advantage of winning Zone 3 ahead of the last 8 matches to be played in the season.
Check off. Hamidou, he's coming forward with purpose. Hamidou, he's found Amedo. Amedo! An awkward overhead kick from him. Abubakar, his kick passes marker beautifully. Abubakar looking for the round of Eti. He's found Eti. Eti looking for the pass to Abubakar. He's giving it to Abubakar. Then it's Raouf. Accra Lions have silent the whole of Tema. You can hear a pin drop. What a scintillating football from Accra Lions.
From one coach who is jubilating success to another one who jubilated just a couple of days ago, Antonio Conte. He left Inter Milan by mutual consent after leading them to win the Serie A title for the first time in 11 years. And he says that he's agreed to receive at least 7 million euros for his decision to part ways with the club. He's got just 1 year left in his contract, but he says that it is time to move on. There's more in the following report.
The Italian spent 2 years in charge of Inter and had 1 year remaining on his contract. In a statement, Inter thanked Conte for his extraordinary work at the club. Conte has recently been linked with Real Madrid. Amid speculation, Zinedine Zidane will leave this summer and the vacancy at Tottenham. Inter added that the decision to terminate the former Chelsea manager's contract was mutual, despite helping Inter Milan end Juventus' dominance of the Italian top flight. There has been speculation over Conte's future at the club for months. Inter's owner, the Chinese retail group Suning, is reportedly suffering financial pressure, which is expected to lead to cost-cutting the club and player sales this summer. In February, Jiangsu FC, also owned by Suning, folded just 3 months after winning their first Chinese Super League title. Inter had finished 21 points behind Juventus in the season prior to Conte taking charge, but several high-profile signings, including Romelu Lukaku, Christian Eriksen and Ashley Young, had a transformative effect in his first season at the helm.
Welcome on AM Talk 10. Thank you for making time to be with us. And as we discourse on matters of national concern, Galamsey and the burning of excavators, the double salary saga, and the allegation that indeed there was some scratching of people's backs in there, among other national issues, we'll be having Alhassan Suini, Member of Parliament at Tamale North, also a member of the Lands and Forestry and Appointments Committee of Parliament. Dr. Stephen Amwa, he is a frequent face on this platform. He's Member of Parliament for Inshaya, so member of the Finance and Privileges Committees of Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Good morning.
Again, just as happened, a few days ago when I interacted with a former Deputy Trades Minister, we were having a brief discussion right before going on air, and it all has to do with how members of Parliament have to cough up certain sums of money. And I've heard it said that some people need between 5,000 and 10,000 cedis every month just to be able to pay or dole out money to certain people. I feel that fosters corruption, and it will not let this cycle of corruption stop. What do you think we can do about it, Honorable Suini? Well, is this something you face?
Let me say good morning to you and good morning to our viewers. I think that it's something every person in our society who seem able to have a good life faces in different forms. I mean, businessmen I know will tell you their stories of people who walk in every now and then seeking one favor or the other. I'm sure even yourself, just by virtue of being on TV, people from your community, people you attended school with, people you played, gutter to gutter with, ask you favors ask for favors every now and then. So I think we have a dependent society, and maybe that dependency is also motivated by the need that we cannot ignore. So what we face, I will say, perhaps the aggravated form of what almost everyone who seems successful in our society comes face to face with. And it's also because we are the more accessible ones. And again, we put ourselves out there that we want to assist society. So when society have needs, it is logical that they come to you. But yes, I agree that sometimes...
Did you just say it is logical that they come to you?
I mean, if you put your out there that you want to help society, and then you campaign to be elected to help society, it is logical that when society have needs, whether it is a communal need or it's a personal need, that they come to you. It's logical because you put yourself out there. But I'm saying that I understand that sometimes it makes you wonder how God feels, because we all look up to him for all kinds of favors. So the only difference is that we tend to understand when we pray and our prayer requests are not granted at the times that we wanted. But when it comes to individuals, especially politicians, when we are not able to meet the requests of our constituents, it can be that depressing. It also has political consequences, and
I guess the political consequences are what you fear the most, because the reality is that people will come to you. There's a funeral, they want you to do something. There's an outdooring, they want you to do something. If you don't assist, over time, word goes around that SMSC, this MP is, tight-fisted, and you might get kicked out of Parliament. That's your reality, right?
Yeah, that's the political consequences. That's part of it. But to be honest with you, I can speak for myself. I do my very best every time without fearing that, I will lose or win an election. I think it is by the grace of God that, we are where we are. That's my orientation, because let me give you why I believe that is the case. If you come to my constituency, almost 30,000 people voted for me. Almost 30,000. But trust me, within the 4 years that I will serve as MP, I will not have the opportunity to meet the needs of even up to about 10,000. The about 30,000, maybe about 6,000 or 5,000 will even wish to have direct access with me and seek help. So it tells you that what the little I'm able to do to those who come into contact with me really doesn't have much of an impact on whether I win or not. It's by the grace of God, So I am not one that sees losing as the consequences and for which I do the things that I do.
At least we know.
But you see, they say good name is better than riches.
Right.
So sometimes, because you may not even have the opportunity to tell your story, it gets frustrating, and so you are sometimes pushed to do certain things that you otherwise wouldn't have done, because politically, if you don't do it, your name, like you said, is just muddied, and you don't have the opportunity to correct it. But most of the time, as politicians, and I'm using myself as an example, what motivates us to keep going is the impact that you are able to make on lives and how that changes either a family or a community, and the appreciation that you get. So when you are downhearted by some of these very unreasonable demands and requests, you wonder if you should quit. Then you remember others who genuinely need your presence, and you feel that perhaps God put you here for those people and not for those who are being unreasonable.
Okay. Let me come to you, Honorable Amoah. And we know what a regular member of Parliament earns. assuming you were the one, like we've heard, where people are coming to you and you are expected to exhaust about 5,000 to 10,000 every month. How would you be able to?
That is even on the low side. I'll give you an example. Someone came to me one time.
Let's put it down.
Someone came to me one time, and I mean, this is a story many of my constituents, I mean, my executives especially know. And the request was that he wanted me to help him put up a foundation of a house in a waterlogged area. He bought the land in a waterlogged area. He's seen that putting up the foundation is going to be very costly. So he has prepared, he has all it takes to finish the house. But his problem now is the foundation. He wants me to help him do the foundation in a waterlogged area. A constituent, that's what he wants from me as his MP. I mean...
Were you able to help him?
Well, I couldn't do what he asked for, but I gave him audience. I tried to make him understand why I'm not able to do it. But the support that I had, you know, few bags of cement I could give, I gave out to support, you know, his venture. And you'll be surprised. This doesn't come from just uneducated people. Look, I had a group of people come to me one time. They had built their homes. In fact, when I went to see the homes, their homes were nicer than my home. And their request, that was even before I became an MP, when I was campaigning in 2015 as, you know, to be a candidate of my party. And they wanted me to help them buy 20 electric poles, each costing about 6 million Ghana cedis. So they could
at 600
Ghana cedis. So they could extend electricity to their homes that they had built. And their homes were nicer than mine, by the way. And these were workers who had come together. You know, because I was campaigning to be an MP, they thought it was something they could, you know, ask of me. At the time, they were not saying I should perhaps lead them to the ECG or VRA to help.
They wanted you to do it out of your pocket.
They wanted me to do it out of my pocket. They had actually calculated the cost and told me where I could purchase it because they had someone who was selling it. So I looked at them and I said, I'm thankful that you are educated. I'm thankful that you are workers. Let's have a discussion of our governance system. We did. I don't know if they appreciated my attempt to educate them on why I thought their request was wrong. But in the end, we had a civil discussion and they left.
Like I was mentioning to you, Mr.
I have 2 shots now. Can I take this?
You have 2 shots now. Yeah. Well, your very own Director General for the Ghana Health Service says, even after the 2 shots, we should still wear our masks. So we are all going to observe the protocols. If you were in the United States, in certain states, per what the CDC has said, maybe you would have been able to take it off. So please bear with us, Mr. Amwa. I was mentioning, we know an MP's salary, more or less. I mean, we can strike an average. Yet you were even laughing when I was talking about 5,000 to 10,000 a month. What has your experience been? How do we get out of this? What do you think ought to be done? Very quickly.
It will be very difficult for me to give a figure because it might be giving wrong interpretation.
But people come to you.
Oh my God. It's not the way you think. I don't know I don't know the differentials or the dynamics of other constituencies. And even me, before I became MP, I've been coming on air, I mean, playing interface role as a politician for about 25 years. I used to come here when they were doing Crossfire. You remember those days?
Right.
Yes, I was with Samson in Kumasi before he moved to Accra. So you can imagine in terms of having visibility. So I've been experiencing these things for far too long. But when you become MP, it becomes an obligation. And the situation is that whether you have it or not, almost every week, demands for school fees, accommodation, hospital bills, this, marriage, that you take away from. I shan't tell you funeral cry, they don't talk about it. Because sometimes, one of the weeks, just weekend alone, you need 10,000. Because you have about 7 different funerals. You are MP, you'll be expecting to pay not less than, in fact, minimum will be 500. That is normal ones. But every day, and these days, bro, when you move to filling station, people will rush you, give me money. From church, people will rush you, give me money.
Even at the filling station.
I'm telling you this. Anywhere you go, every place you meet people. So the question you ask to me is so critical. How do we balance it? Maybe off air, I'll tell you sometimes some of the things we do at the peril of our own lives, financially.
At the peril of your lives.
Yes. But if you don't have...
Just to be able to take care of your constituents.
You see, when you don't have money, and if somebody asks me for something and I can't provide, I get hurt because I have this strong passion giving. That one is a fact. And of course, for them not to also destroy your image and lie about you. And they say, oh, they don't look after the grassroots. But ask yourself.
But that would also be pushing our members of parliament to corruption.
100%. So what I'm saying, that is what this country, I would say that we have to redefine our corporate focus. This country has a huge problem. Fundamentally, if we don't address all these basic variables or dimensions, boss, you will do everything here that you people are doing to help push Ghana forward. It will always be a problem because it's like a cycle. I'm sure one day you should give 2 hours for every MP to come and talk about what he's going through, or even other appointees, DCEs, ministers, deputy ministers, CEOs, deputies. I think the problem is that for about 50 years, political leaders and politicians, those who have the mandate to lead this country, they failed us. That's my opinion. Maybe we are trying, but the fact is, if we have all these kinds of fruits in our country, things that do not require complex value chain in terms of production, mango, pineapple, orange, they are so plenty that we can produce million liters of them every month if you buy the requisite machines. And that will create jobs for tens of thousands of graduates for about 40 years. They can plan their retirement with. And we are not able to do that. And they are not having money. And they are dying. They will beg you for money. So that is why I mean this fixed thing. It's funny. I'm not saying it's wrong asking the government to fix it. But if you ask a government to fix something who has been there for about 60 years, the time we are having COVID, I have a problem. Other than that, I have nothing against asking us to fix it. I think we need to repackage this country. Other than that, my brother, NDC will come, MPP will come, you go and bring Tony Blair. It will not work because you go outside your house, you see mango, pawpaw, pineapple, coconut, everything. These are not oil sector that you need complex technology. And we cannot create sustainable industries, viable ones that we can consume and export some and create jobs for the youth. What will happen? And it's all because of Cinderella syndrome.
Cinderella syndrome?
Yes.
Which is what?
Me, I think Africa. I said this in, I think, Munich. And a white lady was crying because I listed opportunities in Africa, listed things we have in Ghana. I said we have forest, semi-forest, savanna, semi-savanna, coastal belt. In terms of skill component of our labor force, we have good engineers, good doctors, good that. So what is the problem? That converting raw materials, just fruit, you squeeze it and put preservative. It's free juice. All we need is a bigger machine to produce more and consume and export. So what's happening? What's causing our problems?
I guess that even feeds into one district, one factory, and the sort of things.
Just our inability to configure. I mean, in terms of something as a core competence and key resources, like making sure that we avoid square pegs in round holes. We can't speak the truth. You can't speak out Ghana here.
Why?
Whether it's NDC, MPP, or CPP. The fact is, sometimes those who can strike are made defenders. And some of the defenders are on the bench. This is a problem. I mean, let's face it. But I think for about 40, 50 years, if we have been able to create enough jobs.
Right.
Because when we were traveling outside, we had traveled before I even went to university. UK. You fill forms, you want to start. Why? Because there are sustainable industries. Without education, you do packaging, you do cleaning, you do labeling. So even if you are not educated, you get job to do. But we don't have jobs. So your neighborhood, those who voted for you, even those who did not vote for you, as somebody told a friend of mine, MP, that, Honorable, let me speak in truth so that you get what I'm talking. Forgive me.
Please go ahead.
Or say, Honorable, me you the hospital, my car won't you? They say, oh, I come and none can him now care also. You see, somebody told me he has built up to the lentil level. He begs me I should come and complete and roof it. So the problem in our country, those who are begging, in a way, it's not their fault. The MPs who are struggling to pay, it's not that because we want to win power. But the fact is, A system has been created for about 60 years. There is poverty in our country. People are poor. They are dying. There is no job. Somebody finishes KNUST, Polytechnic, after 10 years, he's not working. He has gotten typhoid. What do you want the person to do? I am saying that we need to redefine our corporate focus. This country, very soon, will all begin advocacy that other people may not like. But it has to happen. Because I don't understand that we have every kind of timber. Sapele wood, wine, rosewood, everything. We have to import second-hand wood product. Wood product, pam, you get it. Why do we import? So we need to redefine our corporate focus, redefine the way we want to build this socio-economic structure and create sustainable jobs that somebody can finish and say that if I've been employed for 40 years, I can plan my package. If not worse, a time may come, oh my God, somebody will come and ask you for something that you even ring for wedding, somebody will come and ask you.
Even ring for a wedding. Well, yes. I am surprised they haven't asked him yet. But you see what he's suffering is actually...
We really have to move on. So I'm going to give you a maximum of a minute and a half.
I think what he's suffering, and that's what brought about this discussion this morning, is what our seniors in Parliament will call the first-timer syndrome.
First-timer syndrome.
First-timer syndrome. You come and you must pay your due. Baptism of fire. And you know the difference between being an MP and doing what you do, and doing it before you become an MP is sometimes the appreciation. The appreciation levels are different. When you are not an MP and you are doing it, the appreciation level is different from when you become an MP. And I have said that, look, I don't think that one can actually be in politics for long if you don't have a giving heart. Because it is that
you don't have a giving heart. You can't be in politics for long.
Especially in Parliament. If you don't have a giving heart.
That's a fact.
And like I said earlier, and I agree with my brother when he also made that point, that our society is in need. And so it is logical that these things are happening. And I agree that then calls for, some restructuring of the way we do the things that we do. But maybe I'll end with one advice for my brother that I got from an elderly person in my constituency who told me after my victory in 2016, went to thank the community. And he said, Honorable, you see, we are like an elderly person. He said, we are like children who do not know that their father doesn't have.
Sure.
So even though you have won and your party lost, we know you as our father. And so,
so it doesn't matter.
We will always come to you for all that we need because we think you have. But my advice to you is that do the best that you can. Don't ever go and steal or embarrass yourself because of our demands. But as for our demands, they won't cease.
They will always come.
I'll end on this discussion on this note. May God be with you.
Thank you. Amen.
Let's continue talking about money matters, and it has to do with what former special prosecutor Martin Amidu has been saying. In fact, he has accused Mr. President of employing Machiavellian, that is, dishonest tactics in ensuring that his ministerial nominees were approved by the NDC members of Parliament on the Appointments Committee of Parliament. I'll give you maximum 2 minutes each to react before I break down certain salient points that he makes and accusations that he's leveled against the system and specifically the sitting president. I'll start with you, Mr. Suini.
Well, I was fortunate to be on the Appointments Committee, and I find the suggestion curious because I saw nothing that one could link to, closely linked to even anything Machiavellian. I have said it on this platform, and I think on other platforms, that as a minority group, some of us feel very strongly about our inability to live up to civil society and public expectations as far as the president's nominees that appeared before the appointment committee is concerned. We feel very, very, disappointed that we could not live up to the public expectation because the expectation was very high, especially after we managed as a minority group to snatch the, seat of speaker from our colleagues on the NPP side. The vetting process, I think, was one of the most watched in our history. People followed it diligently. And it's also because of the level of research and questions that, members of the appointment committee filed when nominees appeared before them. So generally, everything was going well, and it rose the expectation. And some of us thought that we should have been guided by that expectation in doing, the approvals. But to excuse maybe the appointments committee, I do know that it wasn't an easy, task deciding on who to fail and who not to fail, because it is a constitutional, it is guided by the Constitution, let me put it that way. Who qualifies to become a minister and who doesn't? It's a constitutional matter. It's about qualification to be a member of parliament and all of that. And it is about the president nominating the person. So sometimes, it is very difficult to find very good grounds if the person does not go against the Constitution to stop the person from becoming a minister. But we still did our best by recommending at least 2 people for rejection. That was the Minister for Minister for Fisheries and the Agric Minister. And at that point, it was out of the hands of the committee members. It was out of the hands of the committee members. It was now for the whole House, the plenary, to decide the fate of these 2. In fact, there were 3. Yes, the Information Minister was part of it.
Fisheries and Agriculture.
And Agriculture. So though their fate, the committee did its work and recommended them for rejection. But in the plenary, a lot of things happen. And it is not unusual. I don't think it's Machiavellian. If you go to the UK Parliament, you have members cross-voting. So, it was as a result of even the cross-voting
right there, because
the NDC was able to get the speaker.
so to speak, that Martin Amidu speaks of is not tied necessarily to the fact that these people, whether it went from the committee stage to the plenary where eventually some decisions had to be taken. Yeah. He is basically saying that you were muzzled in a way, you were limited in a way based on something that happened 2017, 2018. Basically, you had this issue with members of parliament taking double salaries. He is creating a nexus, a linkage between the two. I want you to address that specifically. Are you saying there is no way that could have influenced the decision of your members? You are on the appointments committee, the NDC side on the appointments committee. Yes. Are you saying there was no way that it didn't influence it?
First of all, I was not in government before 2016. And the people, and I wasn't in parliament also. I was just a media practitioner like yourself then. The people on the committee who I know were in government, in no way, not at any discussion, mentioned their limitations and included the issue of double salary. In fact, what I do know in conversations with some of them is that the state owes some of them after the reconciliations were done. So it was never an issue that came out throughout our consideration to vet nominees or to approve or reject nominees. The issue of government prosecuting people or investigating them over double salaries, not even once did it ever feature in our consideration as members of the appointments committee and even as members of the minority group.
I've heard Inusaf Hussaini say that it is too far-fetched, that there couldn't possibly be a linkage. You agree with him then?
Absolutely, because based on what I know,
right?
Like I'm saying, I mean, there's no way I could have been part of it. So there's no way it could have been used to
Is it that maybe you don't know, but maybe certain powers, because your own minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, he's received a bashing.
Yeah.
You know, even your party's mouthpiece, Sami Jemfi, gave him a timeline. You get it, on some of the happenings within the appointments set up. So it could be that,
and I am telling you
do not know.
And I'm telling you from inside, as an insider, that throughout our consideration, as appointment committee members or as members of the minority group, at no point was the issue of double salary a matter for discussion.
Okay.
It had always been about the Constitution and maybe some other considerations why people should be approved or not approved. Okay. But never did it ever feature in any of our conversations.
Mr. Amwa, there is a damning verdict, and I just want to chip in this bit before you give your answer, from former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu. And this is what he alleges on this bit about double salaries. He says, President Akufo-Addo determines criminal prosecutions, not the Attorney General. President Akufo-Addo determines, and these are the words of Martin Amidu, not mine. President Akufo-Addo determines criminal prosecutions, not Attorney General. To back what he says about the fact that there was a you scratch my back, I scratch your situation. How do you respond?
I think I will send my regards to our constituents that is in Sheso. Number one in Ghana anyway. I love them, they are great people. But then it is very interesting. I always say that Ghana, if we all don't change, we should forget. Not until deep in our heart, out of our instinct, we exhibit godliness to the level that any statement, any perception, any inferences, any analysis one makes, not necessarily wrong or right, but it's from a very genuine, clear heart. The problem we have is that almost all statements and comments come with some sort of underlying interest, parochial interest.
You feel Martin has an interest in here?
You think if Martin Amidu had not gotten...
He's merely been responding to what the AG has said.
If Martin Amidu had not gotten this issue with where he was sent to, are you sure, let's be honest with God and man, this issue about double salary thing came even before my senior came to Parliament. They just had the appointment exercise just recently, over 4 or 5 years now. So since when Martin Amidu realized this? Since when? And two,
but it came to the fore. It came to the fore in the past administration. I mean,
let me
from
tell
2016.
you, I'm being honest with you. This is my opinion. Nana Addo Dankwa as a president might have been known better than me by other people. I don't know, but I think I've spent so much time with him for a long time because of politics. He has his fault. He's not an angel, but trust me, Machiavellian and corruption and those things are not part of his vocabulary. You can condemn, you can say whatever from a distance, but any honest person that even hates the man, the president to the core, will tell you that he personally can never be corrupt. So I think what Martin Amidu is saying is neither here nor there. Let's ask ourselves, when we were choosing a speaker, and we had at least 2 people either voting for NDC, minority side, or one decided not to, or even spoil the ballot, and they had Honorable Babin. What happened? That one, they didn't collect bribe.
Maybe we did the Machiavellian on your side.
Exactly.
Maybe you were the Machiavellian one.
So MPP supporters, some of them started accusing some of our people, naming some, even some of our MPs were naming some other MPs. Then we went for appointment. So other people were having prejudicial position that at all costs, the appointing committee should have disqualified somebody. How can you sit down in your country and have a prejudicial position that could have crippled the forward movement and the performance of the republic simply because of politics? And because they went through or they
For some people, they'll tell you they've not even voted. It's not about politics. It's just that they felt those ministers did not meet. There are people like that who came to tell you that no, we feel the finance minister, for example, he should answer X, Y, Z, and all of that before he does it. I'm just saying that there are people who came not from political perspective.
You know, one problem in Ghana to have noticed, we define expectation in a very close, tight bracket that is like expectation is 1, so you should be 1. Expectation means mean, average. This is what you expect. And when you expect something, you consider variability in terms of, oh, I expect that this thing happened, but it's close or not. That is why you talk about performance deficit, not necessarily what you have achieved. The fact that you expect A and B does not mean or represent the fact that one is supposed to make a decision out of. We are not having marking scheme. Then they should come with the marking scheme. That for the appointing processes and exercises, these are the marking schemes. And if you check the marking scheme, the man should have been given 1, he was given 4.
Do you feel then that there's a problem? There's a problem with how we're approaching the appointment situation now? Should it be looked at?
It depends. I'm coming. The expectation you're talking about, my brother can have different expectation. Expectation of color red. I can have expectation of color blue. You can have expectation of secondary color or primary. So if you're talking about expectation, then we are not having one expectation in Ghana. We cannot have a defined point of convergence when it comes to expectation because we all have different perceptions. The fact of the matter is that whether in this MPP, most of the people approach issues with parochial and political interest, not national interest. Because if Martin Amidu had been at post and be enjoying his largesse, I'm sure Martin would have said this. Let's be honest. And this is what...
So you're suggesting that if Martin Amidu were at post doing what he was doing, he resigned, by the way, you're saying that he wouldn't be coming out to say these things.
So let me ask you, this double salary thing came before 20... Is it 20?
That's 2017.
2017, actually.
Far before, am I lying?
But that was still in the very past.
So why didn't he talk about it?
He was working on it.
Working?
Yes.
So he brought the documentation.
That is why the AG now is saying that he failed to deliver on that. And he is now responding saying that I did not fail to deliver on that. It is because there were certain powers that were pushing, shoving.
So the way Martin Amidu himself, with all respect, should be condemned. If a man with full of tenacity and leverage, and he talks like he's not afraid of anything, he can never be controlled by cowardice, could be coerced to do a wrong thing against the state, for us to lose money, I think he has to even be taken to court.
He himself should answer questions.
Exactly. If the way he's behaving, even when NDC gave him one of the topmost positions in Ghana, he was so fearless, and he was so confident and bold.
As Attorney General.
He exercised his stewardship with that kind of bravery that everybody was lauding him. So this small issue, he could be coerced and compelled not to do the right thing. Please, I am begging all Ghanaians, including me, it is time we moved away from these things, and now it's about Ghana. If you think you can't do that, don't do politics. Very soon, we've all made mistakes before, but very soon, even if my mother makes mistakes, I'll come out and speak. That's why I'm telling everyone, if you like, kill me. Whether you're my party man, you are not my party man, whether you hold position A or B, if I see anything with evidence, I've spoken to my God. I will come out, I will speak, I should be killed.
Okay.
We need to change this country, boss. We can't sit there and let people suffer like that. From Adenta to Medina to Rage. Go and check increasing barefooter case on the road. We should start having feeling and emotion for this.
Increasing what?
Barefooter kids.
Oh, right.
On the road. Do we have solutions to them? They are increasing from about 30 years up to today. We don't seem to have a clue. We can't sit down and say we are leaders and politicians and activists and only champion causes that will serve our personal utilities and satisfaction. Me, I've changed henceforth. People will insult me, they will do, I don't even care. They can even kill me. If I see any problem, I will not defend MPP or NDCC. I will speak the truth.
Okay.
And let's all begin this war. It's not war to fix something for somebody to become president or to lose power, but war to fix a problem that will provide the needed utility that will change this country. This is what we are looking out for.
All right.
I think Martin Amidu is speaking out of hate and then some sort of hate and maybe it's his personal disappointment and stuff like that, because so far as I'm concerned, these guys have not taken money from us. Do you know the hell of time they give us on the floor? Ask him.
Okay, point well made, and I see you're getting very passionate about it, and understandable. But Mr. Sweeney, Honorable Sweeney, let's do this very briefly. We have to move on to other matters as well. I just want us to look at this. Yes or no, if possible, from both of you. Is it possible? Is it possible for the executive, the president especially, to influence the legislative body when it comes to appointments? Is it possible? Have you ever seen it happen? Is it possible?
Well, based on how Parliament works, and you see, I just wanted to make a quick comment maybe before
Please make it very brief.
My brother, when he was speaking, reminded me of my position on Mr. Martin Amidu when we vetted him. Maybe it will be interesting for you to find my piece on the reason why I opposed him after the vetting process. Some of the things that he is saying were my assessment of Mr. Martin Amidu. And
you can just refresh our memories very, very quickly.
You see,
just
for example, I said that based on my assessment of him at the appointment committee and outside the appointment committee, I think he is driven more by emotion rather than facts.
Okay.
And so my brother says he's hurt, but now who caused them? They created that monster. So I will just hope that they survive, and please, again,
how can this I think he's referring to the fact that he was put in that office in that capacity.
But he was given Attorney General's position before us.
Please.
Exactly.
And let me make this point. And we are speaking English, and my use of monster is
I know
an English term. No, I have seen it happen in the media severally. You speak figuratively, and later when you see the headlines and the suggestions, you wonder if people really went to school and learned the language. But that's the point. So I wish them well. But on the issue of
the possibility,
but
it is possible.
I mean, idiomatic expression anyway. So.
That's why I said.
That's why it's good you explain your own context.
It's a common figurative.
It doesn't have any grammatical interpretation apart from what we all know.
Right. So, yes, looking at our system and how it operates, the executive presidency system that we operate, the president has a lot of powers. And yes, to your question, it is possible that the president can influence some of the decisions that come out of committees of parliament and even parliament itself.
But has he?
It is possible.
It is possible.
But I have spoken to you as an insider who worked with the appointment committee, and I can tell you for a fact that whatever happened that led to the disappointment, and I regret that disappointment. I continue to say, I regret that we couldn't live up to the expectation of civil society and Ghanaians. But what led to that, I think, had nothing whatsoever to do with manipulations from the executive.
Thank you.
I have said that it was as a result of disagreements, especially amongst us, committee members, appointment committee members, and amongst us as minority group.
Okay.
And we have worked on that, and fortunately for us in this country, I believe that in this session and subsequent sessions, the Ghanaian people are going to see a more focused minority group.
Just in about a minute. Is it possible? He says it is.
It is possible, but I think we should come out with a further question. Has he, or has any president?
But if there is a possibility, then yes, it could happen.
It could. What is not possible under the sun? What is not, let's be honest, what is not possible?
Right.
But I know that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will not do that. Okay. I know. I know.
I think it suffices what you said.
He's not that type.
Let's move our attention now. Let's move the conversation forward. And we're talking something else. Something else that is really bothering us, and it has to do with Galamsey. We've spoken about this time and again.
This morning,
the latest is
kill my emotions.
No, I don't. We have to talk about them so that we can save our country.
It's painful.
If you don't understand the burning of excavators, go to court. That is what Mr. President has recently said. Now, there are some miners in the Ashanti region who want to, among other things, and I'll give both of you one bite each, so you summarize all your thoughts in them, who want to seek legal interpretation of the Constitution, whether a minister, like we see here in the case of the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, has the right to issue a directive for private business equipment to be destroyed without just cause. Then they also allege there is selective justice in the fight against illegal mining. And even Extra Gold has come into the fray talking about the fact that they are being unfairly treated. And finally, they are instituting measures to petition you guys, Parliament, to intervene because it is against the United Nations Convention to unleash the military against citizens. I'll start with you, Mr. Amoah.
I think this issue has given rise to much controversy. And it's been on not only for today, it's not only under the present leadership or authority. You know, Galamsey has been a lot of issues with, as a country suffering from these antisocial behaviors. I'm sure even when we're all kids, except that population increase, new technology, new ideas, new exposition and revelation of these hidden precious metals or elements, we are having the damage being felt more than ever. What I think is that whenever there is frustration, sometimes the choice of alternative to attain your goal becomes questionable. I don't think it just started by the president or anybody or the minister saying that burn excavators. When we seized excavators and some got missing, Kufuado, you say you put your thing on the line, you see you stole. Hey, now when you get the excavator, burn it. It's also an issue. So what
but there are genuine human rights issues in here, and some are citing the fact that even the UN regulations, you are not supposed to be using the military to unleash whatever on people.
I sympathize with those whose excavators are being burned. I sympathize with them. But at the same time, check any country in the world. Rwanda, Singapore, Korea, even Germany and Congo, they had hundreds of years back. Any country that is a developing economy, that we want to exercise absolute democracy, boss, it will not work. That is why, that's my opinion. This is no opinion of MPP or anybody. Looking at the attitude of Ghanaians, look, now some of the fish we eat contains mercury.
Mercury and the rest, yeah.
And they are the causes, they are suspected to be the causes of most of the terminal diseases, such as cancers and other things. And we are begging you. The problem I have with the whole process is when we wanted to take serious action against Galamsey, that's my opinion, I think the approach to me was not the best alternative.
You mean the first approach? So. Okay.
I allowed the president...
What was wrong?
Yeah, I'll come to that.
Very briefly.
I allowed the president for coming out boldly. Since 1992, we've not seen any president that has come out boldly and put his presidency even on the line. That part will I appreciate. But if we are going to do that thing, if I were having the power to do things the way we were doing, what I would have done even before we started the exercise was to engage all stakeholders, listen to all of them, let them understand the harm, appreciate. The thing will be part of them. They should give out alternatives. Then I will involve them even in the supervision and the leadership at the district levels. It's like giving something to somebody who steals. You're in charge of this, or you're for so baby. But I think that because the damage it was doing to us was too much, in my opinion, we just imposed the technique
and now
on
in
them.
This second time, we've had that consultative dialogue. So that's the difference for you.
And even talking about the excavators, one area we should look at, if it's being done partially, one we should go into it. The Abu Jinapo, he's doing too much work. I mean, I support what he's doing.
He's doing too much work.
Yeah, he's doing well.
Okay.
I also think that they should redefine the process, because if somebody has lands, if it's only true and he's doing genuine business, you understand what I'm saying? He's doing genuine business. The person's equipment should not be bent.
Okay.
That is also one thing.
All right.
Then, okay, maybe I wanted to. I understand you. The time is rationed. So.
Honorable Suini, and I would implore you to be very
brief. I'll try. I mean, because this is a subject that I'm very passionate about. I think that the president sounded very dictatorial, which is unfortunate.
Sounded dictatorial?
Really?
Yes, and if he did not have some legal background, this is not the first time. I am sure that he would have been, a very, very terrible dictator. Because you see, it's as if
No, you let him make his
point. You see, I agree, but are you not condemning those who are also perpetuating these administrations?
Can I finish?
Mr. Amor, please let him make it.
Can I make my point, please? You see, it's as if the president is telling us that no rights can accrue to a person caught stealing in the act. And so once you catch someone stealing in the act, you can slap and kick and beat the person.
So I see where you're coming from, because even murderers have rights.
Exactly.
And there are certain processes that must be.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it is for good reason that our laws actually spelt out the processes we can, go through to acquire, to confiscate these machines and to allocate them to proper use. It's for good reason.
Okay.
It is for good reason. It is the law. Now, what is happening?
The law can be sometimes
is I have described as Rambo style, and will certainly lead to excesses, because we have been on this path before.
Okay.
And people have gone to court and claimed judgment debts from the states.
Okay.
So you may be intending to do well with this fight, but cause unintended consequences by way of burdening the state with judgment debt. So if we are calling for a discussion that will lead to an approach that will be more refined, that will serve us all better in the future, it is not an anti-position against the fight against Galamsey.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. To wrap the conversation in a minute, I'll give you 30 seconds each. We have the vetting of deputy ministers. I'll come back to you, Honorable Sueni. Does this put any pressure on you, the NDC members of the Appointments Committee, the Minority Caucus? Now that unfortunately, we have what Martin Amidu has said and all of that, and your own regrets that you spoke of, does it put any pressure on you? 30 seconds.
Well, yes, to some extent, it does put a lot of pressure.
It puts pressure on you?
On me. I can speak for myself, because I feel that there is a need for those of us who still have the opportunity to be on the appointment committee to embark on a redemption mission.
On a redemption mission? Because
people genuinely have expressed, some concerns about the work of the appointment committee and by extension the work of Parliament in relation to the nominees that appeared for ministerial positions.
Right.
And there's a need, and those are genuine concerns, like I said, and there's a need for us to have a redemptive mind as we approach the process of vetting the deputy nominees, even though I must also say that the deputy ministerial nominees do not carry the same weight and influence as the minister.
Mr. Amor.
The advice I'll give to my brothers, including my brother here, is that they shouldn't also allow, in my opinion, the expectation of the people to induce arbitrarily their decision-making process.
I said genuine.
Okay.
I said genuine. The genuine concerns. Yeah, but it's not every.
What I'm saying is that sometimes
pressure that you take
in making the attempt to satisfy the outcry of the people, you make wrong decisions.
Right.
So I beg them. I'm not saying they should pamper anybody. They should be focused.
Right.
It should be competence-based. It should be proven record in terms of the person's capability, fit for the position. Even sometimes the things they go into, they're married and stop, got this, the person's had this, those things, to me, they are unnecessary.
Okay. They are not. It depends on the context. It depends on the context within which it is.
Very unnecessary.
Okay. They are not.
I think it should be more of competence-related.
We do all of that.
Vetting.
We do all of that.
Some people come in with their own prejudicial positions and social issues that are not correlated to or with even performance.
The Constitution demands. The Constitution even talks about moral turpitude.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Then you don't have to be empty. You don't have to be empty.
Oh, who told you? You don't know me.
Okay, if you're an angel,
conversation, unfortunately,
I'm not an angel.
Cannot continue.
So if you're not an angel, then there's elements of immorality.
Thank you.
That this moral thing in Ghana, we have to define.
No, I'm just telling you. I just use it. I just use it so you know that what you consider competent-related questions are.
Those who joined us for AM Talk this morning. Al-Hassan Suini, Member of Parliament, Tamale North, Member of the Lands and Forestry Committee, as well as the Appointments Committee. Dr. Stephen Amwa, who is still sharing his thoughts, Member of Parliament for Ishia, so Member of the Finance and Privileges Committee of Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Now, our very next conversation has to do with the appointment of MMDCEs. It's a critical one to take stock of. It's a one-on-one with the head of the local government services, and Mama Vio Owusu-Abuaje has been interacting with him as more than 1,000 people are vying for 260 MMDCE spots. That is up next.
Chief executives of the 260 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies are expected to be replaced soon. But even before the president makes the appointment, we understand that thousands have showed interests and are going through a vetting process in most of the countries. Well, some of you are shocked by the numbers that have showed up, especially in one particular area where we are told the mother, father, and the son are all interested in the position. So I visited the head of local government service, a man who is a governance expert, once a DCE back in 2001, to get his thoughts on this subject. Nanato Arthur is my guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are you as surprised as others with the numbers?
Well, I'm not surprised at all. I take it that the position of a DCE, or call it MMDCE, has become quite attractive. Everybody wants to go back to serve his or a community, and for that matter, we see numbers like in the central region, for instance, one district as many as 22, Cape Coast Metropolitan 18. I am not surprised at all. It also tells you how transparent the whole exercise has been, not necessarily belonging to a particular political party before you be asked to apply or be allowed to apply. And that's the more reason why we see these numbers. And I'm happy that this time around we are doing things different from other, years past. I'll give you my own example. 20 years ago, we applied, those of us who were interested, from Commander Nego Upper Brim, about 5 of us applied through the constituency NPP executives. From there, it went to regional MPP executives. Before there was interview conducted at the regional minister's office, then the late in Edumasi, and then from there it came to the then seat of the government, Castle, before we were appointed. This time around, the beauty of the whole thing is that the DCE on paper is non-partisan, and the DCE represents the president. And so if there's going to be an interview, then it will not be right for a particular political party to be the one conducting the interview. That is the more reason why the regional minister is chairing the panel in all the regions. The regional minister represents the president. The DCEs will be representing the president at that level, and the DCEs work to the regional minister. That is the difference. Those is applying through a political party office. Today you are applying through the Regional Clothing Council, who's chaired by the regional minister.
Yeah, but does that really make a difference? Because we know that still party people will be taking or will be more favorable than ordinary persons or persons who clearly belong to other political parties.
The transparency that I'm talking about.
Is it not just on paper? I mean, it's beautiful when we say it that way, but deep down we know that it's party people that are going to apply for these positions.
That is how governance works, because if whether on paper or practically, if you're asked to apply to, let's say, MPP regional office in the central region, and I were an NDC person or CPP or PNC, I may not be able to apply to the MPP party office. But if it is open, that look, this time around, apply to the Regional Coordinating Council, which is not a political party office. If I were an NDC person, I will apply. Why not? And then after the interview, and all of them are being interviewed. It's not that selective, interviews are going on. So if I were from any other political party that applied, first of all, I'll have the opportunity to be interviewed before the next, stage. So I'm happy with that. I believe that the decentralization of local governance in Ghana, local government in Ghana is improving. We've had this for about 30 years. The PNDC law 207 in 1988 brought about the current decentralization of local government structure, the form that we're practicing today, over 30 years. And so we are growing. I'm happy that we are where we are. But of course, I'm looking forward to a day where at the local level, it will be analogous to what we see at the national level, so that if we are electing president, MPs at national level, we should also be able to elect at the local level.
Let's go back to the process again. So these persons, and in the Ashanti region alone, I think we're hitting almost 300 persons who are vying for this.
It's possible. There are 43 MMDAs in the Ashanti region. So if you are going to about even 200, that means on the average 5. So I think it is fair.
But in the end, they will be shortlisted.
Yes, I'm aware that 3 or 4 maximum will be shortlisted to a national level, and there would again be another vetting chaired by the Honourable Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Honourable Dambuchi, before recommendations will be forwarded to the President for the appointment.
But the President is not bound to pick from that list.
No.
So why are we wasting our time going through this whole?
We're wasting our time. We are looking for the best. I don't think we're wasting our time at all. If the recommendations get to the President, as per Article 243 of the 1992 Constitution, the President shall appoint DCE, and then at least 2/3 of the assembly members will confirm the person. It doesn't tell us how the President is to undertake this assignment. You see, and so years back, the process have been what I've already enumerated. But where we are today, things have changed, and that if the recommendation gets to the President appoints, because he has the authority, the responsibility to do that.
How often does the President pick from what has been handed to him through the process?
To a large extent. From what I know, 2001, when I was an actor in the game, I was appointed from the list submitted. In 2004, that I was again the DCE. I'm aware of what happened, still from the list. But it's also possible that President, in his own wisdom, says that all the recommendations that have come to me, I'm appointing somebody outside the recommended list. He has a right to do that. Because the recommendations, I would say, by way of advice. And if you advise the President thinks that I've seen Mama be somewhere, and I think she has all the capabilities to, represent me in commended Negro Abrim Municipal Assembly. Why not?
But isn't it costing the Regional Coordinating Council right now in undertaking this whole exercise of vetting and making recommendations?
There's definitely a cost to this. Time, money, definitely. But how do we get there when we don't go through this process? The President is in Accra. If we don't go through these processes involving the regional ministers, how can a President appoint somebody from, let's say, Dafiamabusie Isa in Upper West, Sola Tunakawa in Savannah, Lambusie in Upper West, KE? How can President sit?
But in the end, he's not bound to necessarily select from the list that will be given him.
As I said, as far as I know, many a time, almost all, even if 99%, it means that then the process is necessary. If we go through this process and President appoints even 99.5% from the list and 0.5% for a second from outside the list, that means that the exercise is useful.
The NPP seem worried about the numbers. Yes, NPP as a party. And so they're going around trying to ensure that the candidates or the aspirants are committed to the cause of the party, particularly the 2024 agenda, so that there isn't this unity after this exercise. Because obviously, if party people want to occupy the position, and in the end one person gets it, lots of people would have failed and they will be unhappy. I'm asking what has happened previously. What do you know has happened previously? Reason why the party is up quite early to ensure that the aspirants are committed to unity afterwards.
I think I'm happy that the party has taken this stand. That the party wouldn't wait until the appointments have come out and then perhaps even going to affect the confirmations and thereafter. I know about this in 2001. We were 5. When I was appointed, some of the members, some of the competitors were aggrieved, and that it affected my confirmation. The first round, that was on the 10th of May 2001, I didn't get to test. The minister then, Honorable Dumazi, had to call all the 5 and then trying to call it bridging the gap. And then on the 16th of May, that's about 10 days after, I got the nod. It is good that the party has started this way, trying to talk to all the actors. Now look, we are one family. 10 of you have applied. There's only one who will come out as the candidate or the president. But before we get there, you guys pledge your support to each other, that whoever comes out as the president nominee, it is from the same family, and that will support that person. So that this problem that comes always with, confirmation, because I was not the one appointed, then I have my team asking them not to, vote for the president nominee will be reduced. Otherwise, it will take us a longer period to be able to bring all the actors together, for the years ahead of us.
Can't all of that be avoided by simply nominating quietly without anybody applying?
And that is why I'm saying that this is the best way. The transparency. People should be, if I know I will be able to send my paper commended nego for Brim, who should stop me from applying? That rather will be more difficult for the one who will be appointed. But for the fact that I have been allowed to apply without any hindrance, you've been invited for the interview. Perhaps if not the interview, you didn't do well. And so if you didn't do well, you are not appointed. How would you now turn around to complain? You are given all the opportunity. It was not anything, behind closed doors. Everything was open. You applied. You were invited for interview. So the probability of you getting appointed is there. Except that perhaps during the interview, you had others who perhaps might have convinced the panel, and that the recommendation that got to the president suggests that this is the right caliber of person to represent you, the president, in the MMDAs.
Is it because of joblessness? Is it because the position is that powerful and so people want to be chief executives?
Of course, the chief executive position is very powerful. When you are in the MMDA, wherever you are representing the president in that municipality or that district or that metropolitan assembly. And of course, if you have 260 MMDAs and I happen to one of the 260 represent the president, then of course First of all, it's an honor. 2, you are very powerful. You are the political administrative head of the municipality or the district.
But most of these districts have very few resources. I mean, I've heard people who were appointed, whose tenure essentially would be ending, but who have disclosed that they were shocked after the reality hits them.
Yeah, but
they realized that there was a lot more work. I mean, they had to move forward and gather resources for the districts.
Of course, you are the chief executive. Who is the chief executive? Your duty to make sure that you think outside the box. You thought that when you were going to the municipality, everything will be there. Even the president become the president, knows very well that it will not be easy. You need to work hard. And that's the more reason why you are called the chief executive. And so, are you saying that those who say they are shocked and that kind of thing, they didn't reapply? They did. I've not heard of any chief executive who didn't reapply. I've not heard of that. It is for me, if I am one of the 260 in Ghana with a population of 30 million, it's an honor. And you are not representing any other person than the president of the nation. If somebody says he went there and it's a small area, like referring to a small district, look, if you go to some of our communities with a population of less than 500, Chief Chancy, you see people fighting before that person becomes a chief of that area, a population of 500, let alone a district. You don't have any district in Ghana with a population of less than, let's say, 10,000. And if I'm the one representing the president in this area with a population of at least 10,000, then of course it is a big thing, very big for me, for my family, the school that I attended, the church, and everything. And that is the more reason why you see a lot of people clamoring for the position.
Just by way of education, when will this process come to an end?
How would you know? All that I'm aware of is that in so many regions, except the Ashanti region, the initial vetting is done. And I believe after that, the short list will come to the Minister for Local Government and perhaps Jubilee House, and now we get to know the next steps. How do you know when the whole exercise is going to end? Because even after appointment, that will not be the end of the exercise. Now comes the confirmation. That is where Assembly members' job.
The two-thirds.
The two-thirds. Getting the two-thirds, at least two-thirds of the Assembly members meeting and voting. That's different from that of the presiding member. That's two-thirds of the entire house. So getting the two-thirds meeting and voting isn't easy. That is also another step. And that's a hurdle to cross.
So as the process continues, what happens to the office?
The chief executives have not been fired. They have not been removed yet. President has the right to remove chief executives, but they have not been fired yet. So as the processes continue, the chief executive are still at post, except that there's also a caveat that major policy decisions cannot be taken. So along the line, normal day-to-day duty, fine. But let's say big-time contracts and other things, you cannot do that until further notice.
But if you are still in the race, why don't you just step aside?
No. You are still in the race. Why do you have to step aside? You are going through the process. When it comes that you have been reappointed, then fine. If not, then step aside.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Except that nobody's applying for your position.
Well, I am not in an executive position. This is a public office, head of local government service. So you not go through an application before you come. If the president feels that, look, Dr. Nana Atuata, you've been here for 4 years plus. I want you to move on to another place. It is, right to do that. And there's not a place opened for applications to become a head of local government service, not like that.
I would have applied.
We would have done that. That would be wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Now, for 3 years now, the high school debates organized by Love FM has been given a big voice to very young people who've been talking about stories of national interest. Let's speak to James Hammonds. James Alfred Hammonds is head events and promotions, Love FM and Insurer FM. Now, the competition is getting into the stage where only 16 schools are now going to be competing. James, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mama.
I hope you're good.
I guess I'm very good. I mean, we are alive, so we are fine.
Nice. So now we've got only 16 of the schools selected from the preliminary contest. But even before we talk about the 16 schools, let's talk about how the contest has been this year generally.
So it's been a great experience. Beginning this year, we plan to expand participation. And by so doing, we had to open it for all the schools in Ashanti to register and participate in the preliminary competition, which we had about 80 schools registering. And we've gone through phases of, contests, screening the schools to get the top 16 for the main competition. And it's been exciting. I mean, if you look at how these young ones expanded the arguments on issues that bother every Ghanaian, you'll be amazed. And I think it's the very first time we've done the zonal competition. It used to be by a certain criteria for selecting the schools. But after going through this process, I can say that it's been a very huge preparatory grounds for a lot of the schools. So you can only imagine the kind of experience we had in the main event. And I am so eager and desperate for the event to start on Monday.
Great. So from about over 80 schools that we've got now, we've limited it to 16. So beginning Monday, what's going to happen?
Listening.
How is it going to happen from Monday? What should we expect?
So on Monday, we're having two contests between Adventist Girls Senior High School, TIMAS, Kumasi. We have St. Jerome. St. Jerome actually is the defending champions, and they also face Efia Kobi Ampim Girls on Monday. Interestingly, I mean, if you look at the motions that we put before these young people to argue over, you'll be amazed. I mean, these are issues that bother the country, and in fact, the common objective of this platform is to give these young people we all believe are future leaders a voice and our national discourse. So, I mean, Mama, you can imagine a motion like media ethics breaches are to blame for the compromise of press freedom, not the government. We also have a motion like the double track system has more negatives than positives. So these are issues these young ones are going to elucidate points on, argue their stance on, and I mean, we are all desperate and eager to see how this pans out from Monday. And it goes on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The good thing is that we're going to have it live on radio here in Kumasi, Love 99.5 FM. It will be live on our Facebook. And the good thing is that this is, by extension, getting to homes all over the country and, in fact, the world. I mean, it's going to be on Joy Prime. It will be on Joy Learning. We'll have playbacks from around 16 to the quarterfinals live on Joy Prime and Joy Learning. And then, thankfully, for the semifinals and the finals, we're going to have them live on Joy Prime and Joy Learning. So we are more than ready. We are all bracing up for the event to begin on Monday.
Yeah. And it's also turned out to be a competition, not just for those who make the argument representing the schools, but the schools themselves. The schools themselves.
Exactly.
But how have you, monitoring from the beginning of this process, how is it changing the young people who participate?
So, in fact, observation indicates that now the young people are having a certain perception and mindset about the nation. We all believe that the young people in some few years to come will be the ones at the helm of affairs of our country, and that it would never be wrong for them to have a voice in some of these discussions. And in fact, the interesting bit is that in the past, debates were such that you get coaches writing your script for you and all. But in our debate, we get the students themselves doing their own research, coming up with points to defend their argument. And if you engage them, they tell you that this has been a very huge opportunity for them to appreciate the issues better. Having the time to dig deep into documents, reading online, reading books, appreciating news and happenings around us, to be able to get solid points to buttress the argument has been a huge learning process for them. And that is the reason why we are proud to say that this is an event beyond giving them the voice to speak on matters of national interest. They're also learning some indispensable skills, which includes research skills, listening skills, public speaking skills, self-confidence, among a number of things. So it's been a huge privilege to these young ones. And in fact, not just them, even some of us who listen to them. They come up with stuff that you may not on a regular even hear. So it has been an educative platform for some of us. I mean, everybody who patronized this by way of audience, by way of partners, as sponsors, we all, at the end of the day, pick one or two things that are learnings for all of us.
Yeah, definitely, I can relate. The young ones are brilliant. Sometimes we have to go and borrow from them. But you talk about partners and sponsors. Yeah. It's not been an easy year, but this is definitely good content. So who is supporting us on this?
Okay, so we're doing this in close partnership with the Ashanti Regional SLC. We also have aboard the Conference of Head of Assisted Schools, CHAS. We also have the Regional Directorate of Ghana Education Service also supporting this project. And then we have, as sponsors, we have Unilever with Key Soap and Close-Up sponsoring the brand. We have Cowbell from Promasido also supporting this, and a number of other partners who are all in their small capacities making this happen. We say God bless all of them.
Great. So just the final one, on Monday, what time is the first contest? James, I'm asking the exact time for the first contest on Monday.
Sure.
So what time is the first contest?
The line was breaking. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me better now. What's the time for the first contest?
It's off again. I can hardly hear you.
Okay, I'm afraid we'll have to work on that off air, but we'll certainly share the information with you. I've been talking to James Alfred Hermans. He's head events and promotions, Love FM and Inshira FM. And that's our sister stations in Kumasi, and they've been organizing the high school debate. It's gotten into a very interesting round of 16, which will begin from Monday. It will be live on radio on Love FM and online as well. If you're in Kumasi, you can listen on Love FM. If you're around the world, of course, you can monitor online. It will be live on Facebook as well. But we're happy it will be on Joy Prime and Joy Learning Live. So I guess everywhere you are, you can catch up on the Love FM High School debate. Stay with us. You're still watching the AM show. Well, something before we wrap up. Well, from the high school debates being organized by Love FM, let's talk about the National Science and Maths Quiz. And Kwando Senior High School, St. Paul's, Awudome Senior High, St. Mary's Seminary qualified on day 3 of the Volta OT Science and Maths Quiz regional qualifiers in Ho. And Konongo Odumasi SHS also booked the slots at the National Championships. Here are reports from Maxwell Agbagba and Manuel Cranting.
Arise and shine, arise and shine, arise and shine, Awuso, arise.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations.
And we conquered.
I lack words to actually express how I feel right now. You know, right? My colleague here is an old student of Mali.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. And whilst training our contestants, he has always been stressed on the fact that we must beat Maoli. We must beat Maoli. And today, that dream has become a reality.
You're an old student of Maoli School?
Yes, yes.
Or you're a teacher at Awudome?
Yes, please.
And you wanted Awudome to beat your former school? Why?
I work in Awudome Senior High School. I receive salary in Awudome Senior High School. Maoli School took my money as school fees. So now that I am gaining income in Awudome Senior High School, all my support is in Awudome Senior High School. I wish Maoli were in a different group and I would have come to support them. But with Awudome Senior High School, 100% support for Awu School.
Wow.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't you think your old students will be like, oh, why are you doing this? You've not been loyal to the school.
Oh, no. They will understand. Better luck next year. Next year, I think they'll be in Port C. And they'll meet some other school that will make them, the competition will go in their favor. Too much popular, I guess. Too much popular for them. Popular is a type of porridge. I think they took it before coming.
Oh, okay.
They took popular before coming today.
Okay, so not the popular that we know.
No, not the popular that you know.
Okay.
They took popular before coming. So better luck next time.
Yeah, it's been great. Yes, we expected it. We know we have worked towards it. And we know we'll win. Even this morning, I assured them that we're going to win the game with the power of God.
Through toil and sweat, our school was built to make us all what we are today. All our wounds can pass and present, proclaim the name of your mother's school. Truth, love, and service giving, may the name of God be praised. All our wounds can pass and present, proclaim the name of your mother's school. Truth, love, and service giving, may the name of God be praised.
Saved by the Bell was a school that would be Konongo Odumasi Senior High School. Well, today they've been saved by Nuru Amin Senior High School, Islamic Senior High School. It took the very last riddle, which was not answered by them, but by Nuru Amin Islamic Senior High School. But for that answer, they perhaps would have been on their way back to Konongo, not as part of this year's National Science and Maths Quiz. But all of that is history. And the guys from course are qualified to the national tournament in October. Congratulations, guys. I see you are so happy and excited. No, but this is not something. This is not something that was coming your way. It was going the way of Ifidiase. You are contesting. You're on stage. I see you are sweating. How was the feeling on stage?
Like, it was very serious, especially at the last riddle. Like, we had no, like when we said the riddle and it wasn't correct, we thought Ifidiase would take it. So when Nuami took it, it was like a boom, and God's grace has manifested.
It's God's grace that has manifested. But you also there. I mean, you didn't have an answer to the last riddle, did you?
No, I didn't have the answer.
Okay.
Well, since Nuru Amin gave the answer, we were saved.
Okay, so you were praying for Nuru Amin or any other school to answer?
Yes, we were.
So if that didn't happen, what would have happened?
Well, I don't know. God knows what would have happened.
Yeah,
so
God knows what would have happened. But they say course has been coming to the national tournament every year. I mean, most years. Yes. You come and we don't see anything, extraordinary. You do very well in national debate and so on. But in the National Science and Maths Quiz, you don't really have a reputation there. What's the problem? What's the problem?
I think last year we weren't very much prepared. Last year's student, we couldn't concentrate more on them. But this year's students, we took them from Form 2. We were able to train them up to this level. So I think this year we will be able to go very far.
So are you going to organize a party for Nuru Amin Senior High School? You do what?
We organize the party and invite them. Yeah.
You organize the party and invite them. Oh yes. All right. So if you're an old student of Nuru Amin Islamic Senior High School, well, this is an invitation to treat for you. The guys from Corsi, they are going to organize a celebratory party, and they're inviting you for what you've done for them today. But there's more and more. They are the 13th school to qualify for the national tournament from the Ashanti region. There are more schools to qualify. 7 more. We bring you all the updates from right here from the Ashanti region.
Yes. Hey,